Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to why kids don't go outside anymore. I was going to react to this a few days ago, but I thought I broke my PC, so I couldn't use it for a little bit, but thankfully it's all good, and I'm now reacting to this. But in terms of the context of this interests me because obviously I feel like previous generations of people growing up, it's like sort of the older generations went out more, and the closer we get to the current day, people went out less and less. When I was like, let's just say like a young kid, maybe like 8, 9 to about 14, 14 and a half, I would go out every single day just playing football or messing around with my friends and doing whatever basically. Like, I would go out every single day. And then around 14, 15, I got my own console for the first time and it just switched. Like, I was not going out at all. I mean, I probably went out and then I moved house to somewhere else. I didn't really know the area, and yeah, from around 14 to 15, 15 to around 17, 18, yeah, I was not going out at all. It's crazy. It was like a full 180. And I'll tell you one thing for sure: the younger years were the more enjoyable ones. The years where I wasn't going out much, I just regret it and hate looking back at it. So in terms of going outside and doing these things just as a kid, as you really should, I'm happy I had those memories, but I feel like kids now ain't going to have those memories. And it's kind of sad because I look at those memories and they're the best times, honestly, of my life, just because that's the time of life. You don't have to have any worries about anything. You're just going out without having to worry about bills or work or just anything. Life's just so much better then. And yeah, looking back at that, some of the best times. But seeing how it is now, kids will be at home gaming and stuff, and doing other stuff on their phones and all that. And obviously that's just how the world is now, but it's definitely, I feel like it's definitely a negative, but I don't know what details this video will go into. We're going to check this out, hopefully going to enjoy, and let me know your thoughts as well in the comments. And maybe if you're someone who grew up in a previous generation, maybe the 80s, 90s, maybe you were a kid who used to stay inside anyway. I don't know what you would have done, but you maybe just didn't go outside. I feel like some people just didn't really go outside as much when they were younger anyway. It's just how some people were. And maybe when you were older that changed or whatever. But yeah, let me know your sort of experiences growing up in terms of what did you do when you were a kid, obviously going out and stuff. But would you game and stuff? Obviously there was consoles then, TV was on then, but it was nowhere near as many options and stuff like that. But anyway, this is a long intro. Let's check this out and see this video.
Children and teenagers these days aren't going outside as much as before. 50 years ago, nearly half of all kids in America walked or bike to school. Today, it's less than 13%. This is largely due to the lack of independence children have. Parents are more worried than ever about letting their kids go out on their own, because look at all these kidnappers outside. Look at them. However,
is that Vienna? I mean,
their own, because look at all these kidnappers outside.
Maybe
look
not.
at them. However, stranger kidnappings are astonishingly rare, and these cases are always sensationalized in the media. The real threat to the safety of children are cars. Vehicle collisions are the #1 cause of death among children and teenagers, killing thousands and injuring tens of thousands every year. When you look at how our cities are designed, none of this is surprising. Modern suburbs, and especially American suburbs, are car dependent. Neighborhoods are endless mazes of single-family homes with streets laid out in winding cul-de-sacs. Businesses.
This is actually a good point. I feel like in the US, being a kid might be harder just in terms of you can't walk to many places. A lot of it's just drive. You can only really drive. Like, one positive about the UK is you can walk anywhere pretty much. Obviously within a city, you can't just walk in the countryside and stuff. And obviously I know in the US you will have pavements and stuff, but I just feel like maybe if you want to go to the city or you want to go to a certain area, you have to be able to have someone to drive you there or stuff like that.
Sit behind giant parking lots with wide multi-lane roads full of high-speed car traffic. This forces you to cross these big intersections designed for the flow of vehicles rather than the safety of people. This creates a vicious cycle where the dangerous streets make parents drive their kids more, but by doing so, they're adding more cars to the problem. Recently, the channel Oh the Urbanity made a video about Miami, and they caught this footage of a school bus having to stop in an angle and block traffic just so kids can safely get off. Because drivers literally would not stop.
Wow.
So when everything's too far away and crossing the street is too dangerous, children have zero independent mobility until they turn 16 and get a driver's license. Most of the world sets their legal driving age to 18, and for good reason. Teenage drivers are 4 times more likely to crash than adults, mainly due to immaturity and inexperience. But in most of North America, teenagers as young as 16 can drive unsupervised, and in some places, it's as young as 14. If we had viable alternatives to driving, our legal driving age wouldn't have to be so low, and teenagers wouldn't have to risk their lives just so they can have some independence. Until then, children have to rely on mommy and daddy to chauffeur them everywhere. This is where the soccer mom stereotype comes from, someone
Okay.
who spends all their time driving their kids to and from different activities.
Oh, so it's not a negative term then? Being a soccer mum, I thought that was always like a derogatory term, not like a serious term, just a bit of a cheat. You just say it as a joke. But that seems like a good thing, a good mum, unless it's still seen as a bit of a dig at someone. But
Car-dependent suburbia, dropping off or picking up kids from school becomes this massive ordeal, with cars backing up for miles of traffic. These schools may be far away and are sometimes in rural locations, but this is primarily due to sprawling car-centric design. Due to the low density of the suburbs, schools have to consolidate into fewer but larger facilities that are farther away, rather than having more smaller schools that are closer. Regardless, schools being in rural places does not justify the lack of infrastructure. This beautiful video by Bicycle Dutch shows how majority of all children in the Netherlands bike themselves to school, even if it's miles away in a rural area. They can do this because they've built safe cycling infrastructure throughout all their cities and the entire country. We might not build bike lanes across the whole country like the Dutch, but even if a fraction of these kids were able to walk or bike to school, it would make a huge difference for both parents and the development of children. A 2002 psychology study asked elementary school students to draw a map of their path to school, and the results were just sad. The child who walked to school on their own produced this accurate detailed drawing with various landmarks along the way. The child who walked with an adult got the orientation wrong, but still roughly identified the right directions. But this is the drawing from the child who was driven to school.
damn.
Studies in Switzerland from the 90s found that children who freely played in their neighborhood on their own spent twice as much time outside, were way more active, had more than twice as many friends, and had better motor and social skills compared to kids who played in a park under parental supervision. Without independent mobility, children don't get as much exercise, contributing to the major child obesity crisis in the US. It also prevents them from, going out and socializing. Studies show that children with less independence are lonelier as they have a weaker sense of community, lower sense of safety, and have fewer activities with friends. The emptiness of car-dependent suburbia also makes it feel more dangerous. In Jane Jacobs' book, The Death and Life of Great American Cities, she explains the concept known as eyes on the street. It basically means that vibrant and lively streets feel safer as there are more people around and thus more eyes to deter bad behavior. This is why dark alleyways or streets at nighttime feel dangerous. But without people regularly walking by or...
I mean, when I was a kid, oh my god, this is nightmarish stuff. There's a woods at the back of my house. And with my house, it's going to sound weird. We used to only really walk into the house through the back door. So, if I'd come home, I'd probably be like 12, 13, 14 from the park. On like a summer night, I'd probably come home like... I probably had a bit too much freedom. At like 10 o'clock. And even though it's the summer, it's dark by then. And I'm walking home. And then when I have to go around the back way, there's a massive woods for about 2 minutes before I can actually get to my door. So I've got to walk like beside this woods, not through the woods, luckily. And then my house, there's like a row of houses this side, and it would creep the hell out of me because there was maybe like 1 or 2 lights along that road whilst walking back to my the house when walking past the woods. But it'd still be pitch black and it would shit me up, man. It's not the same, but goddamn.
For casual onlookers watching the street, suburbia feels lonely and creepy. If a child were to be kidnapped outside, no one would notice. Over the past few decades, this sense of danger has changed our cultural attitudes towards children being out on their own, to the point where it can literally land you in jail. Like Nicole Gainey, who was arrested and charged with child neglect for letting her son walk to the park alone. Or Deborah Harrell, who spent 17 days in prison and temporarily lost custody of her child, all for letting her daughter play in the park alone while she was working at a nearby McDonald's.
See, this is so weird because I look at this now and I'm like, would I want my 9-year-old kid to be at a park on her own? Probably not. But then I feel like I was that kid, not on my own, but with my friends. I would be out at that time all the time. And I feel like at 9 I was able to be on my own. I'm like with my friends at the park. I don't really remember being 9 and my mum looking after me at the park then. But I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking about like 11 or 12. I think when I was around 9, 10, I would have been going to the park playing football with my friends on my own and then walking home on my own. And then it felt fine. It felt like it was just fun. I didn't even think about it. But again, you are so young. Like seeing this headline, I'm like, God damn. I mean, a mum working and the kid at the park on her own. But at the same time, this is what I was doing. So it's just weird. I don't know. It's a weird one.
An even more ridiculous case was Jackie Kendrick, who got reported to Child Services for letting her 2 kids play in her own backyard while she watched them inside.
Oh my god.
Some schools in the US even have rules not allowing anyone to watch at all. So even if you are with your child, you might end up like Jim Howie from Tennessee, who got arrested for picking his kids up from school on foot instead of driving a car. Even if a child
No! Shut the hell up. That is the most absurd thing I've ever seen.
up from school on foot instead of driving a car. Even if a child could walk or bike around on their own, car-dependent suburbia is bland. There's almost nothing to do and nowhere to go apart from a park or the shopping mall.
I don't think I ever got a car to school, ever. Maybe like once or twice. Say I got like a doctor's appointment and then I had to turn up to school an hour late. Maybe my dad would have drove me then. But I always walked to school. That is so wild to me.
Additionally, our public spaces are actively designed specifically to keep kids away. An example of this are those metal studs that are placed on benches or railings to prevent skateboarding. Many malls, amusement parks, and even Chick-fil-A are flat out banning teenagers from entering without parental supervision. When the streets are too dangerous and there aren't any places to hang out in, is it a surprise that kids these days want to stay at home all day, playing video games and watching Skibidi Toilet?
That is wild.
Social media apps like TikTok basically serve as online public spaces where people can share their voices in an open environment. However, this is just as problematic as Elon Musk saying that Twitter will be the digital town square. With the recent motions to ban TikTok in the US, there's a critical lack of true public spaces that are accessible to young people. Car dependency in North America is not an inevitable thing. Suburbia doesn't have to be built this way. It's possible to make our streets safer and encourage more outdoor activity by changing our infrastructure. This means narrowing streets, installing protected bike lanes, and adding traffic calming measures to slow down cars and prevent collisions. We also need to change our zoning laws to allow higher density houses and small businesses to be built in the suburbs so that people can live closer to amenities. These changes don't only benefit children. When a city is safe and comfortable enough for kids, then it's safe and comfortable for everyone. If you wouldn't let your child ride in this bike lane by themselves, then no one will, because it's not designed properly, period. This is why in the few remaining walkable neighborhoods that do exist in North America, you will see lots of children walking to and from school all by themselves. This is also very common in East Asian cities, which they've achieved by having good public transit and dense urban development that creates eyes on the street. Not to mention the amount of pedestrian space you find, which provide attractive public spaces for teenagers to hang out. All of these things are completely possible to build in North America, but we just don't. Laws like zoning codes or parking requirements make it illegal to build anything other than car-dependent suburbs. We also continue to throw money at expensive road infrastructure, leaving almost nothing for pedestrian or transit projects. Car culture is so prevalent that many people simply believe that anything other than cars are inherently worse. Cause yeah, when you spend ludicrous amounts of money subsidizing highways in suburbs, of course driving is going to be the only option. So even when bike lanes or public transit projects are proposed, you get tons of excuses from NIMBYs about all the traffic it will cause or where am I gonna park my car? These people really like to blame the problems that cars create on other modes of transportation. Is your city running out of money and on the verge of bankruptcy? Clearly it's because of all those bike lanes. Don't look at all those billions of dollars that we're about to spend on the highway. That's not it. Most of these are policy issues, policies made by groups of old people sitting in a government building, which are then followed by some other old people who call themselves planners and engineers. So to actually make changes and improve our cities, we need more civic engagement. Currently, most people who vote and attend city council meetings are at least 50 years old. The direction our cities are going in is being determined by a bunch of boomers.
Damn.
Cycling is an important mode of transportation. It helps us reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Wait, are people really against cycling? What? Bro, it's not even letting him talk. He's just shouted lies after 5 seconds. That is so wild.
But I think Gen Z and even sometimes millennials are underrepresented in this issue. I truly believe that younger people want more walkable cities, and we have the power to make it a reality. This is partly why—
Thing is, I've never been to a US city, so I can't actually determine how walkable they are, because I sort of just think of the city that I'm in now. And don't get me wrong, there's cars, there's roads, there's no highways going through the city for sure. There's like the biggest lane roads in my city, within the city, maybe 3 lane roads, maybe 4 at a push. I say 3 lane roads that way, and then 3 lane roads that way. I'd say 3 lane roads are probably the most you have within the city. I don't live in a massive city; it's an average sized city in my country. I'm gonna say 4 lanes, probably the biggest you'll find in my city. I can't picture it now, but I feel like there is. But everywhere, you can walk everywhere. Within the city, you can walk wherever you want. And there's obviously bus links, which I'll get the bus. I do get the bus sometimes because, can't be asked sometimes to walk. That's just how it is. You don't always want to walk. Yeah, like sometimes it's just nice to just get somewhere quicker, which is just obviously how a lot of people feel. But I think it's nice to have the options, whether you want to bike, walk, drive, get the bus, whatever it is. The options are always nice.
Why I started making these videos in the first place. Our cities have a huge impact on younger people, and we deserve to have a say on how they're built, even if you're not a professional planner or don't know what exclusionary zoning means. It's time to stop making excuses for our bad urban design and ask ourselves, do we want our cities to prioritize moving as much cars as possible, or do we want to actually prioritize people?
Well, there we go. There we go. Getting arrested for picking up your kids on foot. That was wild. I don't know if that's a real story. I can't believe that. What the hell? That's so fascinating. Like, how is that even a thing? They really created the most unappealing outdoor environment for actually anything and have the nerve. See, I thought this video was going to be talking about just like why kids don't go out in general, but I guess it was more focused on cars, to be fair. But still a fascinating video, and it was more US centric. I just thought it was just going to be a general thing. We constantly complain about the lack of independence in young adults, but they were conditioned to lack independence. People are so worried about making sure kids live safe, they aren't allowed to live at all. God, I'm just happy. You know what? Even though I was probably in a generation where a lot of people didn't have the sort of, I guess, life I had growing up in terms of they wouldn't be allowed to do certain things as a kid. Luckily, I went out and I had friends that were able to just go out and not have to really worry about these things that people worry about now. But yeah, the world's getting like this, and I guess when I'm a parent, I'm not going to be able to do certain things or allow my kid to do certain things because I'm going to get locked up and thrown into prison for picking up your kid not in a car. Like, that's wild. I feel like that's more of a US thing. I don't think that would be in the UK, but who knows, man? Who actually knows? But there we go. Let me know your thoughts on this, and yeah, until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.